Hi guys, welcome back to Geeks Wargaming. Got another Blood Bowl showcase for you today, and probably a bit of a tournament review, I guess. So this is my Skaven team, the Wargaming Rats. You may notice the colour scheme looks familiar. So yeah, this is the team that I've painted up to take to some Blood Bowl tournaments. So they've just come back from their first tournament. It wasn't terrible for them. It actually did all right. In fact, they nearly finished quite high, but I managed to grasp defeat from the jaws of victory, shall we say. So yeah, they've just come back from the S.T.A.R. Blood Bowl tournament, which is a NAF approved one. It was a local one in Telford, and it's one where it's a 1200 team value. You can pick normal skills, star players, inducements, whatever you want, up to a value of 1200. And then one of your players you nominate as the team's star, and you can give them 70k worth of upgrades, and they can be anything. So if you wanted to give somebody a strength upgrade, you can. If you want to give them a double, you can, but obviously you have to pay for it. So yeah, I basically just took 11 rats, 3 rerolls, an apothecary, and gave every player on the team a skill, and the star was number 7, who was my one-turn rat. So he was boosted to movement 10 and had sprint and sure feet. 2 of the rats had sidestep, and 1 of them had wrestle. In hindsight, that was a mistake. I should have taken strip ball on him instead. Then my 2 blitzers, 1 of them had mighty blow, the other one had tackle. The thrower had strong arm, and the line rats, 3 of them had block, and 1 of them had wrestle. So I was quite happy with the build. It seemed to work quite well. As I said, probably should have taken strip ball. So overall, I was pretty happy with my performance. It was actually my first ever tabletop Blood Bowl tournament, and it was 4 games across the day, time limit of an hour and 50 minutes per game. Those of you that play tabletop, you'll probably know that it takes probably around 2.5 to 3 hours to play a game, you know, a reasonably competitive game, or at least that's how long it tends to take me and my opponents whenever I've played. So I was a little bit worried about the hour and 50 minutes, squeezing everything in. So you do find yourself playing a little bit quicker than you would usually, which is obviously going to you're going to make a few little silly mistakes because you're playing quickly, which, you know, is inevitable really, and it's what I did. My first game of the tournament, I was playing against Amazons, and thanks to, well, actually not thanks to the one-turn rat, but in the first half I was 2-0 up, feeling really confident. Second half, my opponent received the ball, and he went on to pretty much pitch clear my team, which, you know, averages on the dice shouldn't have happened really, but it did. So at one point, I had 1 line rat on the pitch. Yeah, so that wasn't great. So my opponent managed to sort of, over the course of the second half, managed to get 3 touchdowns past me. But because he went first in the second half, that meant that I was always going to get turn 16. And all I needed to make sure was number 7, the guy here, was still on the pitch. And fortunately, he was. So he came back from being KO'd, as did the thrower and a couple more of the gutter runners. So I think probably I had about 5 players on the last drive. My opponent did actually get a blitz on the kickoff result as well, just to make it a little bit more difficult. But he had actually set up to defend against a one-turn touchdown, so all of his players were on the back line, so he couldn't actually take advantage of the blitz without moving out of position at the back, which would have made my score a lot easier. So yeah, I managed to get the ball to number 7, and he made his merry way off down the pitch, and managed to successfully make all of his 2+ go for it's and his 3+ dodges. So yeah, ended up drawing 3-3 on that one. Next game was against Norse, and again, that was one of those games where I did get sort of a bit beaten up. Not quite as bad as the first game. I probably had about 4 or 5 players on the pitch, but again, I got turn 16. It was 2-1. I basically, right at the start, I did receive at the start of the game, and my opponent did have a bomber, which I wanted to get rid of, so I just ran in and streaked in one touchdown, just so he couldn't do any damage with his bomber, really. So got him sort of sent off straight away. He did have some subs, though, so it didn't really sort of help out in the numbers game. But yeah, so scored that one, and then my opponent scored in his drive, and then received in the second half, and then scored. So it was 2-1. Up until turn 16, and yet again number 7 did his 1-turn touchdown, so he was kind of keeping me in the tournament, really. Third game I played against Dan, who you'll know from the channel as the Chaos player, and also the other guy that I play Blood Bowl with on the channel. So it was this team against Dan's Orcs, and Dan is a good player. He could probably beat quite a lot of people out there. However, without sounding arrogant, to date he's never beaten me on tabletop. So I was pretty confident going into the game. But he's got a very bashy Orc team, and I've got a very squishy Skaven team. So I thought it would probably be sort of quite close. I managed to get an early scoring, obviously not a one-turner, but I got an early scoring. Dan then nearly sort of scored again. Nearly scored past me, but he required a go for it roll into the end zone, and everyone knows what happens if you need a go for it roll into the end zone. You're going to snake eyes. So he snake eyes, knocked his player out, which was his star blitzer, and the ball then scattered off the pitch, got kicked back in the pitch, right opposite my thrower, who could just easily pick up the ball and throw it to one of my gutter runners, who could then run it in to score. So yeah, that was 2-0 up. And then managed to finish out the game 3-0. But although the score doesn't sort of show it, it's one of those old cliches, really. It was actually a reasonably close game. It was just Dan got unlucky twice, where he should have actually scored, but he didn't, and I ended up scoring pretty much immediately after he made those 1 or 2 errors or got unlucky. So that meant going into the final game, I was actually sitting in 4th place. So I was then drawn against a dwarf team, and a sort of a bashy dwarf team, and obviously that was quite difficult. I received in the first half. I sort of sat deep in my own half to try and draw him in, which he's an experienced coach, so he didn't sort of fully commit, so he always had people in the backfield, which made me have to try and sort of run from side to side to try and get him out of position. Finally got a breakthrough, and I could get my ball carrier away from all of his defence, apart from them needing a couple of GFIs to sort of contact him if my plan was to put one of my other gutter runners in a position that would force him to actually have to either dodge past him, which as a dwarf you don't want to do, or run past him, which would mean that he wouldn't be able to blitz me. However, because we were playing quickly, I mispositioned my blocking gutter runner by 1 square, so I gave my opponent a nice clear run to go and blitz the gutter runner. Unfortunately, it was the sidestep one. He was 1 square out of the touchdown zone, so I was kind of hoping that if my opponent got a push, I could push myself into the end zone and score anyway. But he managed to roll a pow and knock me down, got the ball, stole it off me, and then I didn't score in my drive. He then sort of grinded all the way down the pitch on his drive and scored on his turn 16, leaving me again, Mr. Mighty number 7, an opportunity to do a 1-turn touchdown. So I set up for that, and my opponent kicked off and got perfect defence, which was the worst possible result that you could get when you've set up for a 1-turn touchdown and you've got a load of dwarfs which are set up at the back of the pitch all with tackle, and then the guy that you need to get the ball with has suddenly got 3 dwarfs standing right next to him, all with guard. So it meant that I had to do a series of 1-die blocks. First 1-die block, I had 1 team reroll at this stage. First 1-die block I did was a skull, so brilliant. I wasted my my team re-roll on the first action of that turn, so it was always going to be an uphill struggle to actually score. But I managed to sort of clear my number 7 clear of all the dwarfs, so he could just attempt to run it in. Got the ball to him despite it being pouring rain. Managed to catch it on a 3-up. Made his way down the pitch. Made all of his GFIs, made 2 of the 3 dodges required. He just failed the very last dodge, moving into the end zone. Obviously, if I hadn't had to use the team re-roll for the opening block, there was a very high chance that I would have been able to re-roll that and actually equalise the game. I think if I had actually equalised the game, I probably would have finished 4th. If I'd won that game, if the first half I'd scored and the second half I'd managed to get in that 1-turn touchdown, I think I would have finished 2nd or 3rd, which wouldn't have been bad for my first ever tabletop tournament. But it is what it is. So I ended up finishing 7th overall, but really enjoyable. So I'd say to anyone, much like with the 40k, I was never a tournament player for 40k. Went to one tournament that I was invited to, and I found it to be absolutely brilliant. You meet some people that obviously don't go to your local gaming group or store, so really good way of sort of networking with other like-minded gamers like yourselves. It's very much the same from the Blood Bowl tournament that I experienced. You know, met some guys there that I've not met before, and you know, was chatting away to them. So it'd be great to see those in other tournaments. So plan to sort of get these guys another outing probably in the new year. So yeah, I recommend going to any tournaments that you can get to out there. I know War Games Store actually runs one. I didn't actually get to it this year, just couldn't do it because of the dates, but hopefully next year I'll get to that one. But anyway, that's enough rambling on about my tournament. I'll show you the guys very quickly because I know this video's already been going on a bit. So here's the line rats. There's no conversion work on these. I did actually get these painted up in a week. Actually, I needed to get them done for the tournament. Kind of forgot that the tournament was coming around. So they're fairly basic sort of paint job, but I still think they look pretty good. Quite happy with them. So there's the first line rat. Second, I tried to sort of keep the poses so I wasn't sort of repeating. You can't avoid it with the line rats. So these are the 3 unique line rats that I managed to use, but I had to repeat this one, and there was a he's had a bit of an accident. That happened during the tournament. He got KO'd by the orcs, and as I set him in the KO box, I caught his tail and knocked his tail off, which was quite apt actually. So I thought I'll keep that as a war wound rather than trying to stick on a tail like that. I'm sure any Skaven player feels that pain. Probably by the end of the season, all their tails look like that. But at least he's slightly different from the other guy. 2 gutter runners. These are the 2 that you get in the box set. I like running 4 gutter runners in. Oh, there we go, throwing him around. I like running 4 gutter runners in sort of a tournament style play, just for the extra speed. They're really hard to deal with. I tend to use them as sort of ball muggers, really. So these 2 with their sidestep will sort of run up to put tackle zones on the ball carrier. Not the best thing to do, but because they've got dodge, they're a little bit more survivable than you'd think. But because of the sidestep, even if they get pushed, I can still sort of decide where they're going to go, so they can still be in contact with that ball carrier, forcing a dodge possibly. The other 2 gutter runners that I've got are the Forge World upgrade ones. So just a slightly different pose here, different hood, and obviously the tail and the cloak going the other way on these. But yeah, as you expect from Forge World, nice detailed sculpts there. I must admit, I hated painting the yellow on this, despite it being the channel's colours. Absolutely hated painting it. 'Cause the amount of layering that I had to do on that. I did these, as I said, it was sort of a quick paint job. I think if I'd chosen any other colour but this yellow, probably would have had the whole team knocked out in probably 3 nights. But in the end, it took me just over, I think it was just over sort of 7 or 8 nights to get them complete up to this standard. But you know, the usual sponge weathering I've got on these. I really like this model though. That's again one of the Forge World upgrade ones. Stands out quite a lot compared to the other gutter runners. That's why I thought I'll make him my star. And then the last 3 guys. Here's the 2 Storm Vermin, or the Blitzer equivalent. So this is your standard plastic one from the Games Workshop box set, and this one here is the Forge World one. So yeah, slightly different pose and different helmet. Just helps them to sort of look a little bit different on the pitch to identify who's got what skills. That's what I try and do with Blood Bowl, because any of you that have played tabletop will know trying to identify players that have got different skills is quite difficult. So everyone tends to go with the rubber band technique, or maybe like a little flag poking out. So I do generally go with that as well, but I like to make the models look different as well, so you can sort of see that they're probably going to have some skills based around their poses and whatnot. And this is the Forge World thrower, the normal plastic thrower. The ball's in his tail. The tail looks really flimsy. I was worried about that sort of snapping off. I'll probably paint up a spare one at some point, but plan to sort of keep this guy in the team for now. And then the last bits is obviously just the tokens. So this is nice, easy, just gold, dry brushing, you know, based, nice and easy there. So yeah, that's that. And then just coins just to flip over at the start of your games. So yeah, that's it, guys. Thanks again for watching. For those of you that have been sort of watching some of the Blood Bowl content that we've been putting out recently, you'll know that we are now working in collaboration with Andy Davo, who is a Twitch streamer, but he's also very good at tabletop. He is actually, I think he's ranked 5, ranked 5th in NAF, and he's recently finished 2nd in Eurobowl. So we're going to be doing a bit more Blood Bowl content with Andy over the coming months. So definitely keep an eye out for those. There should be some good videos there. And if you want to see what Andy does on his Twitch channel, and also he's got a YouTube channel where everything that he does on Twitch is uploaded to his YouTube channel. Check him out at twitch.tv/AndyDavo. That's Andy and then DAVO. There'll be a link below, or check out his YouTube channel. Just search for Andy Davo, and I'm sure you'll find him. So there you go. Thanks for watching again, guys. Sorry to give you the just the 2 coins to look at the end there. I'm sure that was really interesting for you, but there we go. So yeah, remember to like if you haven't already done so. Subscribe again if you haven't done that. Remember, we've got a competition running at the moment for 10,000 subscribers. As soon as we get to that number, we're going to be giving away a big bumper prize, £100 gift voucher, plus some Geeks Wargaming goodies, so dice bag, dice, t-shirt, that type of thing. So it's a good little prize bundle, definitely worth getting your hands on. So if you can help us get to 10,000 subscribers, you know, you're increasing your chances and speeding up the time to actually get that. So feel free to sort of share that video around. Again, there'll be a link below taking you to that video. So if you haven't watched it and you haven't done what Rich tells you to do on that video, go and do that now and give yourself a chance to win some nice wargaming loot. All right, guys. So thanks again, and we'll see you in the next one.